Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve podcast. Today's guest is hailing all the way from Austin, Texas. I got the town right. Right there.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get that wrong. But Austin, Texas, all the way
Awesome.
stateside. He goes by the name DMT or DMT Realist on all of his social media platforms. And he is, most importantly, a solo musician. He describes himself as a punk rap vocalist. We're going to get into this even more so. But basically a rapper and music creator all the way from the United States. So hello and welcome to the show. How you doing?
Howdy. I am doing fantastic. It's a beautiful morning in Austin, Texas.
Right, yeah. Thanks, by the way, for agreeing to do this at such an early time. I'll explain. Whenever I do some of these podcasts with certain people from America in certain states, obviously you have to factor in the time zone difference. And I always try and do it at a reasonable time. But of course, if it's too late for me as well, I'll be drained. So it's kind of that trying to find that healthy balance between the two.
Luckily with me though, like honestly, it could have been at any time and I would have been down. Like,
I know.
I would have made it work. I would have made it work for you.
I believe you. And based on what I've seen in my research and just like looking at you and your friends and everything, I do genuinely believe that. But at the same time, like I do feel that like everyone has those points where they're most kind of like at their peak best. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, and I appreciate you giving me that good time frame.
It's the same for me. I've done podcasts like quite late at night before, and the only way I can get through that is by just having a ton of coffee, which it's fine, but it means there's just a massive problem afterwards. So I just have like this, I can't sleep, and I'm like totally screwed from that point onwards.
Dude, I can't drink coffee. I get too jittery. I like have ADHD, so I'm just always naturally going, you know.
So what do you, okay, so like right now, yeah, you're waking up right now. So what do you have to kind of just like start the morning, aside from what we can see you're having right now? Like what wakes you up?
Well, nowadays, my girlfriend thing, my person,
Your girlfriend wakes you up?
she'll wake me up because she goes to work, and
Okay.
you know, she tells me if I need to clean the house or not, or something, or like what we're doing later, or she asks me what I'm doing.
I see.
Coincidentally, I'm going to the airport today to pick up one of my group members' mother-in-laws from the airport and bring her. So that's my only mission for today.
But in terms of like actually just, you know, waking up and just, because like everyone needs something. Like for me, it's, I have to have the coffee, otherwise for some reason, and I'm probably addicted to it, I don't know, but like, I just can't get the brain, you know, working. Okay. Oh, right. Wow. All right. There you go.
I need
Are you in Texas right now, or are you staying elsewhere?
No, I'm in Texas. Right now, it is technically legal in Austin.
Okay. Explain.
So our police chief made a public statement saying he wasn't going to make any arrests or give any tickets for under 4 ounces. So, and he hasn't so far. Like they've been doing really good.
See, this is what confuses me about the States, because I know that, and I actually, weirdly, I did some, people don't know this, but sometimes when I freelance and do marketing work, I'll end up doing articles for a bunch of different things. And at one point, I actually did articles about, cannabis legalization. I think it was because I was doing articles on like CBD and stuff. So there was some crossover there, and it meant that I had to look at like where it's legal in the States. So I sort of looked at this map, and it was very confusing because it kind of implies that the majority of states, it's not many are like fully legal. There's probably like maybe, something like 7 to 10 that are like purely legal. And then loads of these ones that are like conditional. So it's like, oh, it's legal if you have a medical condition, or it's legal, as you say, like in certain amounts and quantities, or it's just very confusing. And it's tricky as well, because like if you have a situation where like, I don't know, you're just temporarily going to another state and you just happen to have some weed on you, like that could be the difference between like,
You don't just happen to have weed on you.
Well, I don't know, maybe you just have like a tiny bit or something. Do you know what I mean? Like
That would
not a
suck.
criminal
That would
amount.
suck to like not know that you have it and then go into a really strict state. But luckily, like honestly, like I've been a lot of places. Luckily, the places I have been have at least been medically, legalized. So, like nobody really cares.
Fair play. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's like you said, though,
Like it's
isn't it?
crazy in tech.
Right. I suppose it
What?
is largely dependent on the state you're in, and like you said, like knowing the laws
No,
of every
literally,
state.
it's largely dependent on the city.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
like because it goes three different chains. Like you got federal government, state government, municipal government, and
God,
we're all able to make our own little laws that
that's so confusing. Like,
yeah, it's hard, man. I hate it, honestly. I
so,
hate the system.
so you must have to like really know your laws then, like
Oh yeah,
at all times.
everywhere we go, we're getting on Reddit. We're like looking up the weed laws, like seeing what we can get away with, like yeah,
Jesus.
no matter what.
It just sounds like a real pain in the ass. But like again, I still think there's like these potentials of just like accidents happening that are like very small time things that you just couldn't foresee. Do you know? Like for example, what I meant before was like, let's say you have like just like a joint or something, or like some residue or something like very, and do you know what I mean? Like, and the police decide, okay, like they're just going to do like a routine search, or they just don't like the look of you, and they search you and then they bust you on that, and it's like, I mean, because I can understand to some extent like the intent to sell, but even in the UK, it's very unclear because we have this thing where it's class A or class B or class C, and weed, just general cannabis, sort of moves freely between those every couple of years. So in terms of whether or not you get arrested for it is largely dependent on the government and the laws at that particular time. But like it, it really depends on who's arresting you as well. Do you know what I mean? Like some people might be like, "Yeah, this is nothing, whatever," and other people would be like, "No, you're trying to sell with the tiniest, smallest amount."
I've gotten extremely lucky with my cop encounters in marijuana, like here in Texas, because back then the conversation wasn't as big. So like weed wasn't legal here, CBD wasn't, like hemp wasn't even legal here, and like just in 2019 it became legal.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah,
very recent then.
yeah. So like I sell CBD, like I'm a shaman, and basically like we as of August 2nd, we can't even sell bud now. Like and we can't sell it as a smokable, but we can sell it as tea or a cooking material.
It just confuses me. It's like either make it legal or don't make it legal. What the hell is this? Oh, we can have it as like this form, but we can't have it in this form. It's like
It's
what?
crazy. Texas, all right, so like Texas is one of the five main agriculture states in the United States. Hemp and marijuana, if you look at the revenue that California, if you look at what they're doing, Oregon, whatever, they're immaculately changing their economy with just weed.
Mm,
Like it's papers, like textiles in general. Like, you can use it for tea, you can use it for just CBD, you can use it for getting high, and then it has medicinal purposes as well.
mm.
It's like an all-around wonder drug.
Yeah, I've always been very pro cannabis, to be honest. I mean,
Of course.
like I think in comparison with like alcohol, for example, it's been proven time and time again that it's far more detrimental to be regularly consuming alcohol as opposed to weed. But then again, it does kind of depend on individual reactions to certain drugs as well, like how the brain chemistry works and how people respond to it and such.
I
But I
want
think
to. I want to.
go on,
I
sorry.
need your. I need your perspective on something. Since you're from you'd say you're from the UK.
Yes.
Okay. So over here in America, whenever we're talking about like marijuana illegalization, it's brought up that the tobacco and alcohol companies and industries have suppressed the ability for cannabis to be legal because they would lose sales. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I think that's very logical. I agree that that's probably why. I mean, because there's many people in the UK that say that, you know, the only reason that cannabis is not legal is that they just haven't found a way to tax it. But as soon as they do that, then obviously the government can make money off of it. And, you know, I mean, I think that there is like a very, very slow push in the form of like, you know, CBD is legal. So I feel
Yeah.
that that's like the entry level. And then very slowly we might get to the point where it's like, you know, cannabis is legal. But I think it's a bigger consideration. And this is going into conspiracy a little bit, but I think it's like the government always wants you to have their drugs,
Yeah,
not
no,
like
exactly.
your own drugs. Like if you're growing your own stuff, then there's a problem. So it's not even really about the drug. It's about like, you know, I think it's the same in the States, actually. I was reading an article the other
It
day
really is.
about like things like you can't collect your own like rainwater in the States, as an example.
There are some states that don't let you do that.
Oh, so there are some that do then.
Here in Texas, it's actually a really big entrepreneurship. Like it's a big thing over here, especially in the area that I'm in because we have so many estuaries and like our land naturally collects rain and holds it. Like it, I'm assuming it just sparks the idea, anyways. You know, because like, we have tons of businesses that are like rainwater collection companies, and they'll just come and set up your system, and it's super efficient. Like I've lived on 3 properties that had it. It's awesome. Like it's so efficient.
Hmm. That's good. I mean, for me, I think that the bigger issue is, or like the biggest consideration in this is just about people having the freedom to kind of, you know, if they want to live somewhere remotely off the land, off their own systems and stuff. Like I see sometimes there are people that are like I saw a guy, I think he's like a Twitch streamer in the States who rides around in his own like mini bus kind of thing that's solar powered and everything. And I'm just looking at this like, man, that's how you want to live your life right there.
I was rocking out of a van for a second.
It's
It
the
was
way to go.
it was a if you go on my Instagram, you'll see some pictures that like we renovated a van. During the protests, we kind of had like a punk house thing going on, so like pretty much
Cool.
allowed to stay there if you were, you know, helping out and like
Hmm.
doing stuff with the band because I'm a part of 2 different groups. So like I have ATXFlowdown, which is the jazz band. It's like all improv, and like so I get up there, freestyle rap, freestyle sing, like just like whatever comes off my head. And then the band behind me is, you know, just going hard, just jamming out. Like they do take like standards from like jazz samples and stuff,
Hmm. Hmm.
officially turn it into a freestyle hip hop beat.
Yeah, and actually that brings us quite nicely into your music.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
before we kind of, because this is the kind of thing that, and this is why I said to you beforehand why it was interesting and why I found this like you as a very interesting person, because a lot of musicians that I've interviewed or people that I've met is very straight up. It's like, this is what I do, this is where you can find me, end of, right? But with you, it's kind of tricky. Like for instance, you just mentioned right there that you've got this kind of jazz outfit thing, and like
yeah,
I was under the impression that, okay, this is what I have written down. So there is your solo stuff, which we're gonna get into, right?
yeah.
Because you've literally just dropped something recently, so we're gonna delve into that and go quite deep into that. But you're part of this group called the Ugly Boi Klique, and this is the thing, right? So I was looking at this and I was like, oh, it's clearly like a band of some description or a group. And then I started looking around. I'm like, where can I find music? Where's the stuff? And then I'm like, oh, okay. And then I look up another interview with you guys from about 2 years ago where you're just sort of talking and chilling and stuff. And I was like, I'm really not getting the answer that I want. And basically, I guess what my first question is to you is like, is the Ugly Boy Click like a rap clan or something? I apologize, I sound probably ancient in terms of my questioning, but like, is it kind of like just a group of guys that are like similar minded and similar music, or do you actually
Yeah,
create music together? And if so, where can we actually find that music?
yeah. I'd love to explain Owie Boy Click. Yeah, all right. So Owie Boy Click is a punk rap trio, and
Right.
we do make music together. Um, we kind of have this idea that we could never get famous alone, but for some reason, when all three of us come together, like it's just really easy.
Okay.
People love our charisma together. People just love the dynamic so much that it just like happens naturally. Um,
Okay, I get that element of it, but like,
yeah.
yeah, go
So
on.
our music, our music is a really weird situation. So another thing is like we don't really care that much. Like
Okay.
we're kind of lazy about it, and like that's just kind of like one of the aesthetics of being ugly is just like kind of like not caring that much because it's not that big of a deal. Um,
Hmm.
Basically, all of our music is on SoundCloud. I'll just put
Okay.
it, but it could be on Spotify, iTunes
So,
eventually.
okay, to be clear, under the name Ugly Boy Klique, it is
Mhm.
possible to find music by all
Yeah.
three of you together.
Yes.
Okay, you're definitely going to have to send me a link to that because I could not
Yeah.
find that for the life of me. And I
It's just
tried.
the
I believe me, I
it's
tried.
just like if you look up our on anything, like
Yes.
on YouTube, on like if you just Google Ugly Boy Click, like on the Instagram, like you'll find everything probably.
See, that's the thing. I could only find your stuff,
Mm,
and which is fine. It's just
mm.
that I was like, I was interested in kind of seeing what you guys do together, and then seeing how that differs with your solo stuff, and seeing
Yeah,
the differences in between, kind of thing.
so I would compare my solo stuff to a lot of like experimental, like mostly punk rap, metal rap stuff. But like whenever I'm with Ugly Boy Click, we kind of go for a specific aesthetic.
Okay.
And yeah, it's kind of like a sad boy, mad boy, emo type thing. And it's just
Okay.
like it's a good way to talk about, how you're feeling. That's what a lot of our music is about, is how we're feeling and what we're going through.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Which is
And
that's what mostly my music is about in general, because like the realist part of my name is like I like to give music from a realist perspective. So I just kind of put myself on the piece of paper, or I guess in the text, because I type to write.
okay, okay. So like, yeah, like, and all of you guys operates on a solo basis as well. Like, you have your own things going on as well. Is that right?
Technically. If I could just explain the whole origin and just like I guess timeline of Ugly Boy Quick,
Yeah,
just
go for it. Go for it,
yeah,
please.
just to give you some context. So I went to school in College Station, Texas. Well, technically Bryan College Station. Got my associates in agriculture, and that's why I was there. And while I was there, I was making music under the name D Real. And that music was more like radical government, Christian based, like really like theological stuff. And like I was just trying to say some shit that would go over people's heads. And like I probably get like a few hundred plays, and like I wouldn't really think about it because I always knew that like that wasn't the music that would ever like get me big. Like that I was just like practicing essentially. So as soon as I graduated, I came out to Austin, and I was I deleted all my stuff, and I wasn't online for probably I don't know, like 8 months. And then like for some reason I just like got it in me, and I just wanted to make music. So I hit up my mentor, and we went and we started making tracks. And essentially I won this competition that
Right.
got me this slot at this venue called Scratch House downtown, which closed now because of COVID, RIP. But Willis ended up hitting me up and saying, "Hey, yo, I saw your video. Can I come and film for you? Like film your
Okay.
set?" So I was like, "Yeah, of course. Yeah, like it's my first set. I feel pretty cool. Of course, I would want somebody there to film it. That'd be awesome." So like I feel like really obligated to like get to know him for some reason. So like I just look up his music and I find this one song, Bad Girl, and yeah, I really like it. And I noticed at the very end of the song, he leaves like a minute and a half of like the beat just riding out. And I was like, I could definitely put a verse on this and like make a remix. So that's what we did. And then that song kind of blew up a little bit. And then we just like had me, him, and Cody. We had a week where like it was like we had like 4 shows like in one night. And that night we were just like hitting these shows, doing our songs and like going hard. And then at the very last show, like they were like, "What do we call y'all?" Because like at first we were like just being introduced individually, and then like at the end it was like, "All right, what do we call y'all?" And Cody was just like, "Ugly Boi Klique," and ugly stands for understand greatness, love yourself. It's an acronym, so it's just like about empowering people and making them not feel so shitty about how ugly the world is. Um,
I dig that. That's a really cool message. And it's cool. I like that story as well. That's so.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a good story. Honestly, we kind of broke up for a little bit.
Mhm.
Cody and I were, so Cody and I were living on this commune, like outside of Austin, and the owner of the land was going through a divorce, and the like his his lady, took half the land, right? And
Damn.
we were on the half that she took and like a few other families and we all had to leave. And I hit up this one girl because I also own a pet business. Like I own a pet,
Well,
yeah, so like I groom dogs and take care of animals and stuff.
okay, now I love you. Okay, you're an animal lover, so we're instantly friends.
Yeah, man.
But
So
yeah.
like I hit her up because like I'm like, yo, I know you have a huge house. I'll help you take care of your animals and like I already know you like my music and you know what I'm about. So like I'll pay rent there and like I know you have a room in the back. And she was like, yeah, I'm totally down for that. Well, her and Cody started dating and then like a lot of things that were going down and like at the time I have a dog too, so I pregnant. Like my dog is pregnant. Yeah, it's a big deal. And yeah, the puppies ended up being like really overwhelming and like
Hmm.
we got kicked out of the house and then I was homeless with puppies
Oh
running
no. Okay.
to the shelter, like the only no kill shelter here in Austin. Like I took them all there. I was able to give one of them away, but basically I ended up homeless and dogless, and yeah, it was really sad. So I was so pissed off at that I just told them that I was gonna do my own thing, and yeah. But Cody recently broke up with that girl and apologized to me, and we've had a lot of really good days because like these guys are legitimately like my bros, like these are my brothers, like. I've gone on tour with them. I've gone all around the state. Me and Willis, we've actually gone out, like we've gone to Cali together, like on a really big tour. And that was, though we were Ugly Boy Quick at the time, it was still like we were there, doing this shit together. And yeah, I'm really glad that Cody came out of the woodworks with this because, like I said, we always thought that we could never do it on our own. Like for
Hmm.
some reason, it just comes so easy when we're all three doing it together.
I don't think anyone truly gets to the top alone, even if they're represented as like being a solo
Exactly.
act or whatever the case may be. You always have people around you, and you always
Teamwork
have.
makes the dream work.
Precisely, yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more. And like, I think if nothing else, it's like it's better. You learn from people, you grow with people. It's good to have people around you that kind of like we have this expression, gas you up, like
Yeah.
make you feel good about yourself and stuff, and vice versa. And yeah, I feel like if you're just celebrating on your own, it's a bit like depressing. It's like, okay, great, but no one to share it with. Like,
I agree. I totally agree with that. That's exactly what I was feeling. Because, like, I mean, my solo music, like, my solo career was, pretty successful. Like, I had a lot of fun. Like, I went on a lot of tours, and the anxiety of not having to deal with the group was really nice. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I had a good time. And I am actually going on a national tour in February, and that's just gonna be me. And that's just something that I set up a while ago and just commit to it. And
I think a lot of the time as well, like it's good to have, if you're as part of a band, it's good to have a solo outfit because it's just like there's always going to be ideas, things that you don't meet with your contemporaries, like on a not necessarily like a personal level, but like a creative level. There's always going to be like creative differences. So it's good
of
to have like
course,
your own thing that like, okay, this is just anything that doesn't fit with this group. I'll put it in this. This would be my thing, kind of thing.
yeah,
So
yeah, and yeah. Coincidentally, the tour is do you guys know what juggalos are?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
it's a
know.
juggalo. It's a
I,
juggalo tour.
can you explain this like a little bit though? Because I know very little about this. Like
Of
the
course.
only thing I know is that this term comes from the band, the rap group Insane Clown Posse. If I've got that correct.
That's the origins of it. They started
Okay.
it, and then the cult following kind of became the juggalos.
Right. Okay.
Basically, it's a whole ass genre.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
there's a whole category of Juggalo rappers and Juggalo fans who only listen to Juggalo rap. I would say one of the kings of Juggalo rap would be like Tech Nine. Like Juggalos love Tech Nine.
Okay.
Like he's a big deal. And basically they're just like really supportive people. Like they're really nice people. Like they go hard and like they're kind of crazy, but like at the end of the day, like they're there to show love. Like it's really cool.
But
Like
what are like the defining characteristics that make
okay,
them
yeah.
juggalos? Because
So
I know.
most juggalos paint their face. They get
Yeah.
clowned
Yeah.
up. You know, they like to sit fago. They call each other ninjas. You know,
Okay.
they uh they go hard and they show love.
Okay,
That's
cool.
it's
Well, yeah, this is totally going over my head, but like it's interesting to learn about that.
yeah. They're a crazy crowd. That's all I'll say about them. But it's perfect for the mosh music. Like,
Right, 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 right.
they're
And
ready to throw down.
bringing it back to you, like I got to say, before I go on with my questions, I will say, like to me, it kind of sounds like you and the Ugly Boy Clique in general, like it's like you have a very relaxed attitude to music, and it's to me, it sounds like you're kind of doing it, yeah, for the love of the music, which is obviously like the real reason everyone should be doing it. But like, what I mean by that is, okay, let's take the thing with you getting filmed doing that stuff, right? To me, it kind of seems like you're more hands off with your music in terms of like the management of it, should we say, right? So your head is in, making the music, playing the music, being with your friends, working together. That's where your head is at, right? So your head is not necessarily in the whole marketing of your stuff and like thinking like, yeah, I could do this with it and it would get more exposure, or I could do this with it and it would go that. Like, is that accurate to say? Or
So yeah, me personally, I don't like to think about that stuff. Like I
okay,
could, like, because I went to school for agriculture marketing. Like I know how to market. Like
okay,
that's why my pet service is so successful. Like I know what I'm doing
yeah,
locally, but in terms of like getting big online, going viral, like making Bad Girl was like a huge like random thing. Like when that went viral, like we were just like, I didn't know what we did. Like we were trying to create what we did after that point. But like we really never were able to. Well, I wouldn't say that. There's a few songs that blew up after that. But anyways, Willis is mostly the guy that likes to think like, hey, we need to get our stuff on Spotify. We need to hit up this person for promotion. We need to do that. So Willis is the guy who talks and sends the emails out and
Right.
does a lot of our marketing and dealing with brands who want to collab with us because that's coming up. We're going to start collabing with a few clothing brands. I think we have like 3, and then like we're ambassadors for a few more.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, and he sets most of that up, and yeah, I just don't like to think about that shit because, like I said, I have my own business. I sell CBD. Like, I like to chill, and I just want to make music at the end of the day. And like,
I figured that's
I
what you
have
meant.
Willis worrying about that stuff. Like, I'm not gonna worry about this.
Yeah, I think if anything, it kind of works in your favor that you do that. And what I mean by that is like, most musicians, will either have a team working for them that are handling this, or they're doing it themselves. Like, I suppose it depends where you're at in your career and such. Like, for instance, right now, it's not to do with music, but I'm doing literally everything for this podcast, like everything. And I'm like looking at the increasing workload, like I need a team. I need people to do like this, and this. But it's the reason for that is obviously because I just can't do everything myself forever. That's more like bore out of necessity than anything else. But bringing it back to you, like I find this interesting because like I said, there's that approach to things, a different mindset and such. But also, you guys have a very big following. Like your personal account has a big following on Instagram. The Ugly Boi Klique has a big following. But then, like for instance, like you have a small following on the YouTube. So it's like there's a clear kind of like strategy in terms of like where you guys are most prevalent. So it's like, okay, Instagram and SoundCloud is like where we're focusing our efforts and stuff mostly, and then and live shows as well. Obviously as a musician, but like in terms of like where the focus point is. But I feel like, and get back to my main point here is that I feel like it's almost like a strategy in of itself. It's like if you look at like your Instagram and then the Ugly Boi Klique one, it's like people are almost like buying into like an aesthetic or an idea or a lifestyle, maybe is a better way of putting it. And I think like that is the biggest appeal about all of this. That's what fascinates me. Like I'm like sitting there like, oh, this is different. I haven't seen this, but I've seen something similar to this. Actually, real quick, how old are you? Just out of interest.
We're all 24.
24. Okay. Yeah. Because like to me, it's like something that like I can connect with the music, but like there's like a barrier. Like I'm just too old. I'm like 27, so I feel like there's a disconnect there. And the closest thing I can compare it to is I have a younger brother who's about 14, 15, and we get on very well. We connect on a good level, but like there is a lot of stuff that I see him post where I'm like, I don't understand this. This is alien to me. And it's interesting that you guys are like sort of mid-20s, because that would imply like it's not even an age thing. It's more of a like I said, like a lifestyle thing, like just a particular approach to life. I just find that really interesting, especially in terms of the actual marketing of you guys, but not so much about the business side, but more just the presentation, I guess, is more what I'm getting at.
I mean, I like to look at it from a sociological perspective, like I'm definitely able to understand a crowd and see what they want, but I would say the ideals that Ugly Boi Klique try to push are very wholesome, very meaningful, and definitely very real. Everybody should want to feel like that. Everybody should want to, love themselves. The only way to understand greatness is to love yourself. Like you have to understand yourself before you can understand anything. So basically, yeah, like honestly, it wasn't intentional to keep it all on Instagram and SoundCloud. We just like for some reason, like I said, like whenever I came back to Austin, like I started my like that account is probably only and like I had just became DMT like I think like in March of 2018, and so basically like we were just posting on Instagram, and then like Cody was getting like 200 likes on average, and it was just because he had like the aesthetic. And then like I kind of figured out how he uses Instagram, and then like I started doing it that way. And I started like really watching Instagram videos, like how to get followers and how to like, like I was doing a lot of like research on social media, um, but we just focused a lot on Instagram. And honestly, we can't figure out how to get YouTube followers. We can't figure out how to get our Instagram followers to go to our YouTube and watch our AMVs and stuff. Because, I mean, honestly, even I find it arbitrary to watch music videos, over and over again nowadays. Like, I'm not just going to sit and watch a music video. Like, I have Apple Music. Like, I'll just download it to my phone and that's it. It's over. So, like, I would love to be at least that, I guess, what's the word? Reachable, like able to be downloaded like that, and then not have to think about it. But like for some reason, like SoundCloud makes it easy, and with our following, we're able to at least get 1,000 views, like organically, and like that's satisfying to me. Like
Yeah, I agree. Actually, my previous guest that I had on the show, we were talking a little bit about like you sort of like when you have something that's working, you roll with it, you go with it, right? And I think with marketing and like presenting yourself and such, like I'm everywhere online as well, but like I found that there are certain areas that do better than others, but also you have to approach everything so differently. So like the way you approach Instagram is drastically different to YouTube, and I feel like you won't always necessarily like have the same fan bases either. Like I feel like those people that do follow you on Instagram or find you through SoundCloud, like you say, like they're not interested in watching music videos. Music videos are kind of it's controversial, but like a passe thing. I don't think I really watch them anymore. Maybe it depends who's making them, what the purpose is. I think like if it's
I'll watch a really famous person's music video just to like see a real creative mind speak to me, through a visual. But like honestly, I'm not gonna watch my homeboy's video, like I don't know about it.
I think it really depends for me. I mean, I'm interested if it's like political, like when Childish Gambino released his music video for This Is
See,
America. Like that I found
that's like
interesting.
one you have to watch, that's one
Right.
I saw it once, like I at least
But this is what I mean. Like that versus, I don't know, watching the latest Beyonce video. Like you already know what to expect. There's not going to be anything like groundbreaking in that. So why should you bother? Like you might as well just listen on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. Like
I've thought that about Beyonce.
I just give that as an example, but yeah.
No, I've literally had that thought. I'm thinking of a specific memory.
But anyway, I mean, I think you're killing it with regards to that. I mean, anyone that isn't familiar with DMT, I recommend you go check out his Instagram, if nothing else, because certainly from a marketing perspective, the only reason I'm so fixated on that is just because I studied marketing. I just find that interesting on a level, because like every post you make, you don't do it like all the time. You do it sparingly, but when you do it, it gets like thousands of likes. And that's the thing. There is like a threshold. There's a difference between like, having some popular posts and then absolutely crushing it every time. And that always implies like as you say, like a different kind of a specific approach that you've achieved through like studying in some shape or form, or a particular strategy that works. But I feel like all of the social media platforms, you just have to figure out like who your audience is, and then once you've done that, you can just appeal to them in whatever way. Like look at the way they communicate, and then communicate in that same way.
Yeah, literally. Like for one, a long time ago, whenever I was I was so like whenever I was learning how to be a dog trainer and cut hair and stuff. I was basically like a right-hand man for the guy who was running the business. And he taught me a lot about marketing. And one thing he put in my head was there's a market for everything. There is a market. Like, no matter if you can't find your market, then you're not a good businessman.
Yes.
You know?
Completely agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it was really good to work with him one-on-one because, I was really able to see how to make a business grow. And, like, he had the funds to do it. But the thing is, everything takes money. And that's something that we don't have, which sucks. Because I know that if we had funds for marketing and, like, right?
I think crowdfund is the way to go for you guys based on your audience. That makes the most sense.
We hate asking people for things.
Yeah, but you got to look at it like in terms of what you're delivering. Because if it's just like, "Hey guys, can you give us some money because we're poor?" lol, then that's not going to work.
No,
But if you know, what I mean?
like
If it's like, "Hey guys, we need it to make like this music video or make this tour a reality," and people buy into that because they support, as you said before, they're supporting an idea or something like that. And I know it sucks because I know what you're trying to say is just like it sucks when you're asking for money, asking for material possessions and stuff. But like, it's just how our society works, isn't it? Like, you need money to do anything. Like, the only reason I have like this mic that I'm using right now is because of a donation from someone else who believed in me and was like, "Hey, I believe in you. Go nuts, do it." And I was like, "Holy fuck!" And I got like even more motivated than I previously was. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. I don't like asking either. It just feels odd.
So, I mean, like, we've thought about it, of course. Like, we've thought about it. And, like, if it makes sense. Like, and I've seen a lot of, like, GoFundMes and Kickstarters, like, really pop off here in Austin, like, for people that I know personally. And, like, it's kind of peer pressured me to want to do it even more. But, yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, like, much more satisfying to blow up and say we never spent a dime.
I mean, I certainly think that's possible too. Because, like I said, I don't often come across musicians such as yourself. So
It's cool.
there's something in that like I think these days when you consider like how oversaturated the music market is, being different, being unique is the only thing that can really push you and make you, and not just that, actually also being relatable, like being able to connect with people on some level, because it's one thing to just produce music that people are like, yeah, okay, that's good, great, but like actually being able to present something that everyone's like, yeah, I feel that, I get that, I'm with that, that's me, whatever, like that. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like when I look at my music taste over the years, like I've said this a million times on the podcast, but in terms of our particular conversation, music has always kind of represented particular moments in my life, and certain, like, this was me then, this is me now, blah blah blah. And that's why, like, I don't listen. I can still listen to music I used to listen to, but it feels kind of odd because it's not really like, okay, like for example, I used to listen to like a lot of like metal and rock and stuff like that when I was growing up because I was just really pissed off, angry teenager. Like I just had so much shit going on and I was like, fuck the world. So it made sense to listen to like Slayer and Lamb of God and all that, right? But now when I listen to it, it's like I love it, but it's like I'm not angry. I'm very happy. Like do
you know what I mean? To appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I always appreciated it. Like,
yeah.
I think when I became a musician, that's when it changed, and I was like, oh, okay, now I see it on the musician level. But in terms of like relatability, it changed, and I think that like that's another, just on a side note, like if you're a musician, you always have to be growing and changing with your audience and reinventing yourself so that you're growing. That you can't do the same thing forever because your audience will change and you change as well. That's why I always find it funny when people give musicians shit for like like, oh, this album sucks, like it didn't work. And it's like, well, that's that particular person's artistic vision at that particular point. It's only like an issue when like they're doing something like, I don't know, to sell out, and it's purely like not to do anything with like creativity, but just like, oh, we just want to make money. I think that's when it's an issue, and maybe like the fans have like a fair point to like be like, fuck you kind of thing.
Or sometimes they're just genuinely bad.
Well, yeah.
Like there's some people you're like, man, come on, you're 30. You're not gonna make it. But I'm just kidding. No. Like,
do you know,
people who take it too seriously though, you know?
I think it really does depend on your attitude. And like, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but this is really random, but I think it's, when I was at uni a couple of years back, about 4 years ago, some shit like that, there was this pub that we used to go to that was across the street from our university. And like when I was at uni, I just didn't have the time to do music. Like I did it now and again, but I said this in another interview, that I kind of put my soul on a back seat and did the whole marketing degree, and then came back and was like, okay, this is what I should be doing with my life, and not marketing. But anyway, when I would do music, I would go to places like this pub, and they had like a open mic night, you know, your standard thing. And it was weird because it was open to the public. So it was a student pub, but it was open to the public. So like you'd have like loads of students in there, but then every now and again you'd have like Fred, who's 60, having a pint, and like these, and there were these two musicians that would regularly come to this open mic night, and they were well into their 60s, and you could tell that they've been playing music all their life, and that they've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder that they never made it. And here's the thing, like we're all in our like 20s, some of us are teenagers, right? And we're playing, and we're kind of, as you know, just chill, enjoying the music, like whatever. We're not really like, we need to make it kind of attitude. Plus we're all students, so we're all like, this is our downtime to get away from, you know, work essentially. And basically, like the reason I bring this up is because these two guys were like really, they had like this attitude sort of like they felt like they were above people. Like if you didn't meet their like musical level, then they wouldn't talk to you, kind of thing. And like I remember laughing at that, but like I wasn't angry at them. If anything, like I pitied them. I was like, that's really sad that like that's the mentality that you have. You know what I mean? Because I feel like you totally missed the point that like most musicians, that like some of the most successful musicians of all time were successful because they just chased their vision. They didn't give a fuck about money or fame or any of that stuff. That stuff just happened around them. You know, they made the right decisions, you know, they met the right people, whatever, right? They, you know, and a certain degree of luck. But ultimately it's about chasing that vision and moving forward with that. And that's why they made it. And I feel like a lot of musicians, and do you know, not just in music, in general, people, you know, going for kind of creative things in life and really trying to push it and make it. If your head is too stuck in how much money can I make? Have I made it yet? Is everyone listening? Blah, 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 blah. Like people can see through that shit, you know, people are too intelligent, especially now, like, you know, they can see through that. And once they see that it doesn't have a soul and that all you care about is those things, you're never going to make it ever. I don't know. That's what I've noticed.
No, yeah, totally. Like if you make soulless music, you know, if you make music that you don't mean, it's even personally, I've experienced like there's a lot of artists that I know, you know, they're just saying stupid stuff. Like Playboy Cardi, for instance. Like, of course, I understand that he can create a vibe, he can create an atmosphere, but if you look at the lyrics, it's like, what's the point of having a rapper on the song if he's not going to say anything, you know? Like, you know, there's just a lot of controversy with like mumble rap, you know, stuff like that.
It's interesting, you know, because like I feel like it all kind of depends, as far as rap is concerned, on like the purpose of the rap. Because like, you know, you've got particular movements that, you know, that's a movement that lasts, say, 5 or 10 years, and then the next thing comes along, right? But whereas like other rappers just kind of exist to like fill a particular spot, like, oh, I'm the guy, like the hype guy, I'm the guy that comes on the track and does this or whatever, you know. There's different functions in terms of like being a rapper in today's society, you know, versus like, you know, way back when 20, 30 years ago, being a rapper was more unique, you know what I mean? It was, for example, here's an example. Like a lot of rappers now are kind of having to sing now as well. Like they have to kind of diversify in that way. Like they can't just put out an album and only rap. And it's like, why can't you do that? But there's like this expectation from the industry, from, to a certain degree, fans and like just musicians, I guess, in general. Like, you know, you need to do some singing. You need to, you know, put some notes on there as well. You can't just rap.
No, I agree.
I don't know. It's weird.
I feel the pressure, you know, like I definitely feel that pressure. Like that's why we try to strive to make our sound so unique, and that's why I sing and have so many different ways to sing, you know, like it's.
But I think that's the key in this, and that's kind of what I'm alluding to as well. Is like, if you're pushing your thing and you're not worried about like essentially trends, then you're gonna go far because you're just doing your thing. Whereas like trends come and go, like they could last a couple of years, they could last 5 minutes. You know, you really don't know. It's for instance, like trap is really big right now, but like how long is that realistically going to last? You know, there will be a point where people are like, okay, we've heard most of what you can do with trap that's in terms of it being like experimental or interesting. You know, people move. It's like if you take heavy metal. You know, I remember growing up in like sort of mid 2000s to early 2010s, and like the theme then was like, how fast is your band, how fast can you go, how fast are the double bass kicks and shit. And it was like, if you weren't fast, you're shit, you know. It's like get out. And like obviously that got to a point, there was like a band that went faster than everyone, and then it's like, okay, well, you know, what's the next thing? Do you know what I mean? And then Gent came along, and then, you know, the next thing after that, and so on. It's I think the point is, if you get stuck on those trends, like you're chasing that rather than chasing your own creativity and your own interests. And people in general have very low attention spans, I think, and that's the thing. Like they're just, once they're done with you, they're just. So you want to like go for that loyal fan base that you're going for, like people that are like yourself. That makes logical sense to me. Anyway,
people who try to buy into the lifestyle, like you said.
Absolutely. Now this is an interesting question. If you had to define the genre of your music, or maybe describe the sound, how would you define that? Because I struggled.
So like my vocal range is like from falsetto all the way to like this like weird, like crazy growl. So like I'm able to do a lot of soft stuff. So like it's like if Joji could sing like the guy from Creed.
Wow, what a picture.
And, and then he made emo rap and like
no rap. That's not coming back, is it? God, no. Please, no.
It's redefined. All right, so it's. I mean,
no more crunk. Yeah, none of that.
I wouldn't even call it emo rap because, like, I don't know. It's like more like grunge punk rap. Like, I don't know how to describe
punk rap. Yeah, I get it. Like I've listened
to more hardcore. It's definitely more hardcore than, like, we don't use auto tune. Like, we're pretty much hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, let's get on to your latest release. Let's move to that, because I found this really interesting, because when I tracked back and I looked at like your stuff that you released in say 2018, 2019, it followed kind of what you're talking about right now, that kind of sound. It matched that perfectly. But then, okay, so your most recent release is called Untitled August 25th, and it differs greatly in terms of the sound and the style in comparison with the older work. And I just jotted down some notes when I was listening to it, and it kind of, what I heard was like a kind of an old school 90s R&B slash rap vibe. It was really cool and refreshing, and I was like, this is totally different to everything he's done before. And I guess my question is like, is this like a permanent change in your sound, or is this like, I want to try something different, I want to mix it up, see how this is received? Like, what's the purpose with this particular release?
I did it because I could. I
love you.
I wanted to make the sound, so I just tried to make it.
I play.
Gave it a concept which involves kind of like a romantic concept. And then I wanted the aesthetic to be kind of like kawaii. And then I just made the album just cause.
Did you feel out of your comfort zone doing it, or did it feel comfortable?
Oh yeah, fucking sometimes. Like, honestly, because like writing pop stuff, or like trying to be popish. I don't know what the word is. It's definitely like
selling out. I'm just kidding.
I definitely wanted to practice just like that sound, like just to, you know, like it's just like with me, like I said, like my solo stuff is really experimental.
Okay.
I'm like all over the place, and you know, that was just me playing around, just seeing if I could do it, seeing if people would get that it's a pop vibe, like.
I personally think it has legs. I mean, I think that like if that's something you wanted to do again in the future, well, I'm personally down for it. I think it worked for you, and I think that you put your own like take on it. I think more importantly, like it wasn't it wasn't just straight up pop. It wasn't. It had like influences that are outside of your normal kind of, let's say, playbook.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But it worked and it fits. And I think
I would say that practicing like those tones and practicing like doing stuff like that has helped, like recording for Boi Klique stuff, because whenever we drop this stuff, like my vocals sound pretty choice. Like much.
It seems to be positively sort of received. You know, like you, by the way, everyone listening to the podcast, you can find this on SoundCloud. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, like just the initial kind of vibe, like obviously this is just released, but it's like people really dig it. They're into it, you know, so it's like opened up your potential in terms of like things you can do and things you can mix.
Yeah. I like to show how versatile I can be, you know, just to flex on people sometimes.
Right. I'm going to switch things up and ask you something totally left field. This is more serious, or it's very serious. But I thought it was interesting because you don't necessarily see a lot of musicians doing this. Now, with everything that's going on in the world with, you know, Black Lives Matter and protests and everything, certain musicians are, you know, kind of being part of that and trying to contribute to that. And that includes you guys. And I thought it was really cool. Like you were actively out there protesting, I guess in Texas then. This is Texas protest. Okay, cool.
Texas.
Yeah, and like I had to like double check and make sure, because you referred to it as a movement and stuff, and I was like, oh, what are they like? I presumed it was for BLM, but I didn't know 100%. And then I looked and I was like, okay, yeah, that's what they're performing for, to be more specific. So there's videos of you guys performing and kind of just, you know, marching and then just showing support.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about this in terms of your personal experiences, you know, the progress you guys made. Just talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay. All right. I wasn't expecting this. So ATXFlowdown is the group that I was with during the protests. I wasn't like Boi Klique doesn't like show any political stance or anything. But me personally, you know, I obviously have my political stances.
The ATXFlowdown is the jazz group that you mentioned before,
Yeah,
right?
that's the jazz group. Yeah, and so we started. So our riot started March 31st, and we also had somebody who was killed by police in April, on April 24th, which is my birthday, actually, coincidentally. And so you know, because George Floyd riots, we got out there, and me and ATXFlowdown, I was actually out of town. I was in Houston, and I was like, oh shit, we got to get back. And then June 2nd was the first day that we started protesting. And we protested for pretty much 2 months straight.
Damn, okay.
Like we did a lot of things, such as we took on the Lyndon Nuno case, which was I'm not gonna get too specific, you know, but it was just a woman who had her child abducted by one of the police members through a series of technicalities. So I'll say that. And then we, you know, for one, we played music like for everybody. Like we catered every single day. Like we spent like over like $2,500. Like it's like literally honestly why we're kind of like in the shithole right now. Like we're kind of like recuperating from all of that. So but we were there a lot, and we had people, you know, come up and freestyle, had them come up and read poems, had them come up and, you know, sing for us and do whatever they wanted on the mic, you know, start chants, anything. And then we went to Tulsa. We went to the Trump rally. It was the
Oh,
first Trump.
wow.
Yeah, we went to the first Trump rally of the year. Yeah, it was pretty epic. And then we marched with the Black Lives Matter Tulsa, and yeah, the Trumpers were pretty pissed off at us.
You got to tell me more on this. Like, what happened? Like, what are they doing? How they?
So, for one, it was the night of Juneteenth. We left to go to Tulsa. Like we just like went from playing music downtown
Yep.
straight to Tulsa. It sucked. It was really hard. And then we get there and like we pass out in this cafe, and like they let us sleep there and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because like it was already kind of like a hub for like medics and stuff. And like there was a lot of medics. Like they were geared up, like they were ready to fucking go. Like but like we were passed out. Like, with all the chaos going around us, we were like just like knocked out. And then we met up with Black Lives Matter Tulsa, and like in Tulsa, it's very interesting because like here we do have a lot of like Indian or Native American tribes, but like in Tulsa, it's very very prominent.
Okay.
Like a lot of the Black community are part of like Native American. It's very interesting. Like I think the most prominent one was the Blackfoot. Like they talked about the Blackfoot tribe a lot, and yeah, it was just like really inspiring to march down Black Wall Street, which I guess in the 20s was like the most rich African American community,
Hmm.
and it was like massacred because of envy from the white people. Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, it was really bad. And yeah, we were pretty much just playing jazz for them and letting them rap on the mic and saying their speeches. And yeah, we marched a really long ways. And it was really fun.
Well
Like,
done, you, man.
really inspiring, and it went really successful for one. Like, it gave us insight on how to lead a peaceful protest and like not incite all the crap that people like to do, you know, like to get them arrested and go crazy, and
How
which, you
how
know,
how were the police kind of generally during this whole
in
time?
Austin, police in Austin are hard as fuck, honestly. They run over us with horses and spray us for like barely any reason. They are super apathetic to our injuries. Like, we had somebody who was like shot and like they barely rushed to the scene. Like, it was terrible. But yeah, they hate us and we hate them a lot.
And were they any different in Tulsa? Because Tulsa is in Oklahoma, and is
We
that
didn't
sorry? I'll go
experience
sound really
any.
ignorant, but is Oklahoma? It's a state, isn't it?
Yeah, so Texas is on the border of Mexico, and then
Right,
Oklahoma is right on the border of Texas.
right. So yeah, it's a different state.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, what were the police like there? Were they any different?
So, no, because, well, yes, they were extremely different because the president was in town.
Ah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So they really didn't give a crap about us. Like, they realized that we were being peaceful. Like, we had our own militias at our route. And like, we were running around with our own militias and stuff, and like everything was, like, we just marched and like chanted, and you know, some Trumpers would pass by and get caught in the, get caught in it, but
What were they generally like? Because as a a British man, like looking from an outsider's perspective in, what I see and what I hear is, Trump sort of saying like, hey, we need to be like vigilant on protesters, and basically kind of like saying that like all protesters are violent, which is obviously bollocks. Um,
yeah,
but
they no,
he
they want to fuck us up.
right, that much is apparent. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just there's so many stories of that, and it's so many people. I mean, I see a lot of it on Twitter of people, saying like, "Hey, this is what the media isn't reporting," kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
hell yeah.
right, so given that, okay, so Trump's there, it's a Trump rally, and you guys are there. Um, is there any kind of like fights between you guys? I mean, you guys, right? So I should reiterate on what I mean with this. You guys are being peaceful, and that's how these things always start. That like any violence that incurs typically comes from that like Trump side, or like um, and this, for those who don't like conspiracy, I mean, this is the actual fact that there are people that work for the government who are basically told to like try to start violence. So they do things like, you know, like I saw one video where it was like there was a bunch of bricks that were laid in a particular area. Like, hey, take the bricks, smash the windows, because if you do that, we get to, beat the shit out of you, basically.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, all of the BLM protests have been like pretty much 99% like peaceful, because the whole point is that we want to peacefully protest, put forward the fact that this is what we believe, and that like the government needs to take action and things need to change, right? That is really clear, and like the only way you're going to do that is by peacefully putting that across. I mean, I know
Mm.
there's arguments that like maybe violence is the answer, but I don't think violence is ever the answer, personally. And if anything, this whole uh, time, it's kind of proven that like that violence is coming from that Trump kind of group, if you like, that sphere. It's like
Mm.
they think the best idea is to just you know stamp on things and try and stamp out people's voices, but you can't do that. Like, you know, it's especially with what we're talking about, you know, it's, and to the extent that it's got to. But anyway, to get to my point, like, what were those Trump supporters like towards you guys? Like, are they kind of trying to like provoke you, or are the police trying to provoke you, or like what's the kind of situation with that? Because you're marching past, you know, you're being vocal, but you're being respectful. But obviously, they're not necessarily always being like that. So, what are they like?
So there's a lot of times, and like I have seen the bricks being laid out. That was weird. So I don't know if I don't know if that was a coincidence or if that was real, but I did.
There's no coincidence that I've literally seen videos of like, I don't know if it's police officers or like, I don't know, whatever, but like deliberately walking down streets, smashing windows, like kind of routinely in a weird, like not actually attacking anyone, just deliberately smashing the windows as a kind of, you know, precursor to be like, right, we can arrest everyone, we can use force because look what they've done. Which
Yeah.
But anyway.
So we have had some like back the blue people and Trump supporters, which back the blue is like they support police. Like they say
Okay.
blue lives matter.
Oh, so that's where that comes from. Oh,
Yeah.
I never knew that. Okay, all right.
Okay. You good.
I thought it was just people taking the piss on Twitter. Fair enough. All right.
So yeah, no, they're super serious about it. It's really weird. Um, because I'm just gonna say like that ideal, like you can't choose to be, you know, your skin color.
Right, of course.
You can choose what career you have. So it's like, dude, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean, because not all police officers are
lining up.
violent, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of decent, good officers, like
Mhm.
everywhere. It's more. I always call it. I always refer to it as institutional racism. So, like the
Yeah.
top end, the people that are in charge are the racists, and that filters down and enables racists to then become part of the police force. So it's not necessarily that like the police are racist; it's that the people controlling the police and are the enablers and the ones that are actually racist. But it's the reason I say institutional is because it's at the top level, but it's enabled by like the government and the heads of states and stuff.
You gotta charge the laptop.
And to a certain extent, we have that in England as well. I don't know that it's necessarily on the same level as America, but I definitely have seen like racism in Britain as far as like police is concerned, and police like, you know, overusing their power when they shouldn't, and so on. It's a very common thing. But I'd say it's much more prevalent in America. And I guess the confusion element is because like every state is different. It's almost like a mini country. So you got like, as you explained earlier in our conversation, you know, you got like that federal level, state level, and then municipal level. So it differs according to that. Because I've seen so many things like state by state, like one state, you know, police are acting unacceptably, and then in another state they're like really peaceful, like marching along with the BLM's protests and just kind of doing what police do, you know, supporting and making sure everyone's safe. So it's very confusing.
It's honestly like city by city, like because Austin is one of the most like liberal cities in Texas. But like there's some places around us where it's like completely back the blue rallies, and like there's barely any Black Lives Matter, and like if you do a BLM thing, like you're extremely like like people really want to fuck you up, like for some reason. It makes no sense. And yeah, I don't know why they're so discriminated against still. Like there's no point. Like it's 2020. Like people.
I mean, dude, there's still people
I
marching
know, right?
in like KKK uniforms in America in 2020.
I know.
This is still something that
No,
happens, and the police allow it.
no, I know.
You know,
It's
like what happened recently with I don't know the names specifically, but the guy who shot, like the white guy who shot two people and killed them, and the police just let him go.
yeah.
Like
They
just,
arrested him. They arrested him eventually, luckily. So hopefully he's tried for those murders.
I think the immediate response though tells you everything. I mean, it's just so like it's like when there's like a court case, right? And there's so much overwhelming evidence to say that a person is guilty, but then the judge is like, well, I don't know, and it's like, dude, come on. Like there's so much. Like it's gone beyond the point of like doubt at this point. It's like
Yeah.
beyond ridiculous. It's like, okay, there's a really big problem, and like it's not even that we should resolve this. It's like it has to change. Like if nothing else, I think BLM has shown, and like the amount of people that have been just unjustly killed for no reason, and it's been sort of explained away, is the biggest problem here. Like just kind of trying to justify that is all kinds of just crazy. Just yeah.
I'm just hoping all those people just die one day.
Jesus Christ. I hope they see sense. I think that's what I hope for.
That'd be
because we're all human at the end of the day, and
That would be so cool if they could though.
anything's possible.
Dude, you have no idea how brainwashed they are.
Oh no! I do. I mean, we've got them in England, but believe it or not, I mean it's a bit different.
Yeah.
But we've got people. We've got, like, for example, we have this group in England called the EDL, which stands for the English Defence League. It's basically a bunch of white people that get together, and they're racists, and they basically just. It's not even like political, really. I mean, it's just a big group of people that get together and just, target like Muslim communities, for example, and just smash up places, start fights, get violent, and are just generally horrible and racist. And there's a few of these groups, and there's a few political parties as well that are, racist, and they've kind of been exposed and largely are just mocked and not taken seriously. But it's surprising how much support that they gain. There's been some instances where they've earned seats in Parliament in the European part. So when we were part of the EU, we had what you would call an MEP, so it's a member of the European Parliament, and they were voted in by a section of the British public. So there you go. Racism's everywhere, man, obviously, but it's kind of mad when it's in that organized way. And I think a lot of the time it's not obvious racism, in the sense that, like, your average person walking on the street isn't probably not racist. Do you know what I mean? I think it's always going to be that smaller percentage, but that smaller percentage aren't vocal about it. They keep it to themselves, kind of thing. Like one of my previous guests, I had this joke with, where kind of they're the sort of people that, like, they'll walk in a room and they'll try and test the waters for people and be like, throw like a little bit of a racist joke out there, or like say like, oh yeah, these people are the problem, right? And then they'll see what people say, and if everyone's like, yeah, then it's like, okay, great, I'm with my people. And if it's like not like that, then they'll just shut up and not say anything and just like hide. And that's the reality of being a racist, at least in the UK. But in America, I suppose the problem more is that, like, like the government kind of, it almost like enables it. Like you hear Trump come out and say that he supports BLM and stuff, but it's come on. Do you know what I mean? He's not done anything concrete that actually helps people, protects people. He's just kind of like starting a war on Antifa and just kind of, I don't know, trying to draw attention away from that, I guess. But
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, just wanted to say a big thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. I know it's quite serious and a bit of a deviation, but I just really wanted to talk about that with you because of seeing your involvement in that. I thought that was really cool and just something that should be shared and spoken about a little bit. So moving on, let's go on to more positive topics. Bringing it back to what talking about your work with animals. You describe yourself as an animal behaviorist. Tell me more about that.
Ooh. Yeah, man. So whenever I was in high school, I bred and you know what showing a livestock animal is?
No idea.
So here in Texas or here in America, we have the FFA, which
Okay.
is essentially Future Farmers of America,
Right.
and we're able to raise our own livestock and then present them to a judge, and then based on their judgment, you can win first prize, essentially,
Okay. Cool.
in layman's terms. So I did that, and I was pretty good at training my goats and taking care of my babies, and that's kind of how I got into animal husbandry and shearing animals and giving medication. And then I got a lot of money from that, so I went to school for it. And then
Did you get like a scholarship or something like that, or?
no, it was independent, just like winnings from a pot.
Okay.
That yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
fair
like
play, man. Fair play.
yeah. And then yeah, it's some like backwoods country shit, right?
No. I mean,
Yeah,
to
I'm not from Austin. I'm from a small town like 30 minutes outside Austin.
I don't think there's anything wrong with country
No, I
living. You know,
yeah.
I've lived and worked on farms myself in other
Yeah.
countries, and I think if anything, it's good for the soul. I think more people
Yeah,
should
no,
should should do that, should experience it because, you know, obviously dating back in history, you know, that's how life was. That's how people lived. You know,
exactly.
this civilization that we have now in terms of city living has meant that like I have friends in that sometimes refer to it as like old knowledge. But it's true. Do you know what I mean? Like in a situation where, like here's something interesting, right? When this pandemic started, I started Googling seeds, you know, like for, you know, just like vegetables and stuff. I was just curious to see like, you know, the types of seeds you can get and stuff like, cause I'd like to start collecting at some point and just thinking ahead, you know, eventually if I have land or whatever. And I went on a couple of websites and they were like either sold out or like really, really expensive. It's like a lot of people had this idea of like, this is what we need to be doing. This, you know, we need to start stockpiling this stuff, you know, like smart people, you know, your average person is going like, oh, fuck, I don't have toilet roll. That's what your average person's doing. But the smart people are like, no, I need to be investing in like seeds and stuff. Because like, for example, if the economy is fucked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like money is no longer worth anything, things like seeds are going to be the new currency. You know, that's the reality of the situation.
Trash currency. We're gonna use cubes of trash as currency.
Cubes of trash.
The
No, I mean
gold.
it's anything that sustains life, isn't it? You know, it's like seeds. It's I imagine materials, you know, to build and such will drive up in price and stuff. But like we will be trading again. Well, we've always been trading as a species, but you know what I mean. Like money, money just exists as that thing of like. I suppose it's more ease of use, really, isn't it? It's quicker. It's quicker than, you know, it's quicker for me to be like, hey, here's, I don't know, $200, give me that goat versus, oh, okay, let's trade this ox for this goat. Like, obviously that's a stupid trade, but you get my point. It's like, you know, actually facilitating that trade is a pain in the ass. So that's where like I imagine where money kind of originally came into play. It's like, yeah, let's use this, you know. And obviously before that it was gold. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting into the weeds. Sorry. I find this stuff interesting.
No. I'd love to live in a free market economy. It'd be amazing.
Well, I mean,
Everything.
it's probably where we're headed. It'll be interesting.
Right.
Moving it forward. You have a very kind of unique personal style in terms of just like your fashion, how you dress and stuff. And yeah, to talk to us a little bit about this, like what inspires that, where it comes from. Like I know for many people it can be, you know, just what you like. Do you know what I mean? It's fair. But like yours is like really out there. It varies very greatly. And I just wonder, like, is there any one or anything that inspires that? Or is it just kind of like, I see it, I buy it, I like it? Like what's the deal with that?
So most of my outfits costed probably like $5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really big into thrifting.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, like a lot of the times I get lucky and I'll find some dope ass shirt or something. Or maybe like, you know, like my girl will let me like borrow a shirt or something and and it looks dope on me. I don't know. Like I'm also like a model for like a lot of thrift stores and stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So like, well, they're more like resale stores. Their stores are a lot cheaper, but yeah, these places are like they buy and trade clothes and stuff, and it's like really big here in or I guess America in general. It's just to have like a vintage clothing trading thing, and yeah, sometimes they'll let me wear their clothes, and they'll I'll just use their photos that they take of me.
Fair play. And do you what do you get like paid for that, or do they give you like free clothes or something? What's the deal there?
Yeah, I've gotten free clothes. I've gotten like
Nice.
I've gotten tons of shows out of it,
Oh,
honestly.
really?
Yeah, like people have seen me and looked me up and be like, "Yo, saw you on this," and then they hit me up because
Interesting.
if if they use me, they're trying to go for like a certain aesthetic that day.
Right.
So
Yeah.
then, since it's such a weird out of I mean, like honestly, like I don't ever really think of myself as that out of like I just have like dyed hair.
Yeah, I didn't mean to kind of like make you feel uncomfortable. That's not what I meant.
No.
Like,
A lot of people
I just think it's unique.
like
I think
being
that's
reminded of like how they look at me. You know,
okay.
I'm just like, yeah, they look at me as like some like edgy dude.
Well, I think it's interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like me personally, for instance, like my taste in women. I'm interested in women that look different. Do you know what I mean? Like if I just see some woman walking down the street and she's just wearing like, I don't know, the latest fashion trend, like I'm not interested in that. But if she's wearing like maybe she's got some piercings, some dyed hair, or like maybe she's like she likes thrift store stuff, or maybe she's, you know, into like more classic clothing, like something different, something you don't see every day. It's like it draws you in. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I want to know more. And that's kind of like what I mean with that. I think that's probably as well why people are drawn to you, is because it's like you're presenting something that is different from what they see every day. Therefore, it's more interesting, and then it kind of expands with like the music that you're doing, because again, it's not the music that everyone hears all the time. You know,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
that's maybe it.
I can definitely see that for sure.
What does music mean to you?
This music mean to me? Oh my. Music is hmm, music. Music. Whoa, I wasn't ready for that.
We ask the deep questions on the Christian Reeve podcast.
Let's see. Well, music is a way for myself and others to express themselves either verbally or, through their instruments. But also music can be widely defined as like pretty much any noise. So it's hard for me to say what music is.
See, I that's where I
I do.
disagree, right? Because you're a deep guy, you have like hashtag existentialism on your Instagram page.
No, that's why it's so hard to put a definite on music. So essentially, I try to appreciate every noise. Like every single day, I'm listening for new samples. I'm listening for, things that just sound good. Like I've freestyled to like car alarms going off and
Really? Wow.
like
Cool.
at the end of that Untitled August 25th, I have the freestyle and like that was me just like singing off the dome and like just like terrain. Like
Yeah, I heard that. I remembered that. I thought that was really cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
dug
like
that. I dug that.
yeah, so like basically I was high as fuck on shroom and I was like sad as hell about like a recent breakup and Sloan had just gotten arrested and yeah, I just wanted to take the day off that day and yeah, it was raining heavy as fuck and I was out in that van that was we renovated. So, I was just shrooming out there and I don't know, I was just feeling it and I thought I could come up with a song and that's what ended up coming out.
When you did shrooms, did you smoke as well?
Yeah, I always do. I always have to have a bunch of weed.
The one and only time I ever did shrooms, because we always would smoke weed anyway. And I remember the day very clearly. It was a school friend of mine, and him and his brother would regularly go shroom picking like every, I don't know, autumn, some shit when it was in season. And they would get a lot. Like I remember we were at his house just regularly. Like we'd always go there on weekends and get high and play music and just have fun. And he he had a baking tray full with mushrooms. I'd never seen so many mushrooms in my life, and they were all dried, ready, and everything. And I'm just looking at this, and I know nothing about shrooms at this point. I'm like just clueless 13-year-old, like just fucking idiot. And so we've already. No, I don't think we'd spoken just yet. We're sober at this point, if you want to call it that. And he's like, oh, go on, try one. So I just tried a couple, and he's like, fucking take more than that, mate. So I take a big handful, like maybe 20. And yeah. And I'm like,
They were fresh picked, right?
no, so they were like dried out, like
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right,
So
cool.
I ate them all, and I was just like, nothing. Like, what's this? Like not knowing like my impending doom. And then we go downstairs and we smoke this variety of weed called pollen, which is pretty potent stuff. I don't know if they still do it, but yeah, it's pretty intense stuff. And I remember, because I don't do drugs anymore, but when I did, there were like, you always have like that your top 5 like most high of all time, and this
Yeah,
was
of
one
course.
of those. It was like, I remember it was like mid 2000s, so like YouTube had just become a thing, and back then it was all just fucking weird music. It was like top trumps in terms of like what's the weirdest video that you can find kind of thing, and we were all just sitting there unbelievably high out of our minds, staring at this screen. And I shit you not, it was like some sort of dance techno music with people like marching on the screen, like, and we were all just like, and I kind of blacked out. I don't really remember much. I just
Yeah.
remember just intense staring and being out there and very, very high. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's a lot, man. That's a lot. That sounds like awful. I've never overdosed on shrooms.
No,
Like
I
I
yeah,
said,
again, like it's not a sensible thing to do.
yeah, no, that would be hilarious.
The times that the times that I've got the most highest have been purely by accident. Like there was one time where the guy sold us like three bouts of weed, and he'd laced them with different things, and one of them was laced with ketamine, which I found out afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was fine, but it was the most probably yeah, the most high I've ever been in my entire life. I remember it was a really hot day, like 30 degrees. It's a really hot summer. And we were all sitting in a group. And I remember just being freezing cold, like really cold, shivering. And I turned to this girl next to me and I'm just like, oh, it's freezing, isn't it? And she's like, just looks at me like I'm mental. And it's just like, what are you talking about? It's boiling. And I'm like, that's my first, like, uh-oh. And then the second thing that happened, it's really weird to explain this. I mean, it felt like a dream. It was like, imagine that you're watching your life, like you're sitting in a theater and you're watching your life on the screen. And then every 1 or 2 minutes, you kind of jump back into yourself and you are you again. And then you jump back and forth and back and forth. And it was basically like that for like a good hour. And then eventually
That was smoking the ketamine weed.
yeah,
Jesus,
it was crazy.
that sounds
Um,
awful.
it was kind of scary. Yeah. I mean, I joke about it now, but like at the time I was kind of, I remember my heartbeat going,
All right.
and it was like, I need to calm down. Like I need to just chill. And I
Yeah.
remember every time I would kind of come back into myself and feel cold, I was like, right, okay, we're back for like a minute. Let's just relax, drink some water, just calm down. It'll go away. It's okay. And I was like, because who could I call? I couldn't be like, hey, mom, guess what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't. And she would have lost her mind if I don't think she knows this as well. So if you're watching, sorry, mom. Um, but yeah, it was kind of crazy. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's nuts. That's fucking funny.
what's the highest you've ever been? Like, what was your experience?
Um, like a fun one or a sad one?
Oh shit. Okay. Maybe let's start with the sad one and end on the good one. Then that's kind of a nice balance.
Okay, let's do it. All right. I don't know who's watching, but I hope you're ready. When I was 16, I was riding around with my friends, and like we ended up going to one of my friends' house, and it was like pretty much he had like freedom. Like his mom didn't give a fuck what he did, and
Oh
like,
wow. So
but
party
like
house,
she
basically.
was like really successful, so like none of the other parents questioned her or like they questioned us or like our antics while we were over there.
Oh cool.
We would always get really fucking high over there, and basically one of my friends he had a bunch of pills,
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
like uppers, downers, everything. Just kidding. Um, no, what he had was what was it? I took 2 muscle relaxers, 3 antidepressants, and 2 Vicodins.
Oh my god. Oh
Yeah, I took them
wow.
all. I took them all, and then
You're a crazy man.
I smoked hella weed, and yeah, it my impending doom was soon to come. I toughed it out, and I never had to go get my stomach pumped or anything. I didn't die, but I was.
Thank fuck. I mean, do you know what I mean?
I
Jesus.
didn't die, but I definitely lost control of my body and was blacking out, and
Okay.
yeah, it was yeah, because there was like I remember levels to it because somehow I was conscious the whole time. Like the entire time I was very conscious, but like I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. But and then like I'd recognize when I was blacking out, and then I'd come back and realize that I'm back. Like I was completely conscious somehow.
Hmm.
Luckily I'm able to be like that most of the time when I'm high. Even when I'm on shrooms or tripping LSD, like I'm still like me at the center. So like I'm able to like talk myself down a little bit. Um, but anyways, so yeah, I take the pills and they're all like, "Do you take all of them?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Damn, you fucking crazy." Like that was nuts. Shouldn't have done that. And
It's like that thing in Harry Potter. I shouldn't have
and
done that. I should not have done that.
and so basically, we're riding around and we're like, "All right, let's go get some more weed." Go pick up from our other friend who's like a little bit like down the road in the suburb. And like at this point I'm like geeking. I'm just like kind of like acting like a fool,
Okay.
like loopy a little bit. And like it's really funny. And eventually like I realize that I'm like being annoying. Like I would consider myself annoying even though they're laughing and shit. And then I like calm down. And then we parked somewhere. And at that point, like it kicked in like completely. And like
Oh shit.
I was just like passed out. And then like I'd come back and realize we're still where we were parked. And then like a bong got handed to me and I tried to hit it. And it was my first time to ever hit a bong. And
Oh
I
wow. Okay.
hit it and I blew the water all the way through the spout, popped back into the bong. Yeah. And yeah, I was the belle of the ball that night.
I remember like
I
when
had
I.
good friends. I had good friends who got me home, and
Thank
like
God. Okay. Yeah.
they washed my pants, and like I didn't throw up at all, or like I didn't like need to get. I didn't feel the need to get my stomach pumped. Like I was just like gone. You know.
I think if you ever are going to do drugs, like you got to be with people and in a safe place as well, like
Totally.
somewhere secure,
Yeah.
just safe place.
Yeah, most def. But the most fun high I've ever been, mm, in college, we took shrooms as we used to sell pretty big back then, and we just decided to try to get into the shroom game, but we ended up buying an ounce and taking all of it. But the first
In one sitting.
no.
I was gonna say.
We eventually started microdosing and it was really chill. But yeah, the first time we dosed, we took like 4 grams each, and like it was like we got this shit like off the dark web, and like it was like supposed to be like hella potent, and it legitimately was like I've never been so fucking high. I've never had such a great time in my life doing nothing. Like the adventure that we went on, like so like back in the my old college days, like I would free run my like this block, me
Like
and my
parkour, yeah.
yeah, we would do like a bunch of stuff.
I can't believe you parkour high, man. You're crazy.
Oh, no. We didn't parkour on shrooms.
I was gonna say that's the no-no right there.
In fact, we tried and realized it was a terrible idea.
Oh,
Quickly.
yeah, I
So
tried skateboarding drunk one time, and that was a big mistake.
yeah, that sounds hard. Um, so we take the shrooms and we're waiting for them to kick in. And this is the first dose I've had in probably like a year and a half, like since I've been in high school. So I'm like, all right, this is gonna be a big one. So like we're playing basketball down at the apartment courts, and like I don't know, I just feel weird, and I just like look up at the clouds. Like I lay down, and all of a sudden the clouds start like rotating inside themselves, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. And
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
so I'm like, all right, like I'm like, guys, is it happening for you? And they're like, what? And I'm like, look at the clouds. And they're like,
Always like that. There's always like when you're at your highest, everyone else is just like, what do you mean, man? Chill, stop ruining the vibe. And you're like, no, you don't understand. Like, guys.
no, luckily we were all on the same level, and like
Okay, cool.
experimental level, like, yo, everybody like we need to know whenever it kicks, like, so
Yeah.
it's like, so I was like the first one to get hit. Y'all seeing this? Like, are y'all hitting it yet? And they eventually, like, they started tripping pretty good, and yeah, we just walked around our free running route, and like we tried to climb trees and stuff, but it was fucking hard. Like one of my buddies fell out of the tree and like landed on his ass. It's pretty funny. And yeah, we if a cop or like somebody would have talked to us, like they would have definitely known that we were on drugs.
I remember the one and only time that a police officer caught me high. It was so bad. Like we were lucky, but it was like we were in this local park. He was patrolling. He was a tall guy. We were like, again, must have been 14-ish, give or take. And we quickly tried to hide our weed, but he's like, just quit it. Like he's like the chillest police officer you've ever met in your life. He was just like, I know what you're doing. And we're like, oh fuck. Like, what are we gonna do? And I'm just sitting there thinking like, damn man, my mom's gonna kill me, and like this is the end of me, and fuck, and like I might get arrested, and like, oh shit. And then he just walks over and he's just like, I know what you're doing. Like, how much have you had? And we're like, I'm tempted to lie, but I'm like, he's been leveling with me, I'm just gonna level with him. And I'm like, not a lot, like, we're high, but it's fine. And he's like, okay, you guys live nearby? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, look, I don't want you doing this anymore. So just relax, take care of yourselves, but maybe let's keep this to a low. And we're like, okay. And we're like looking at each other like, is this really happening? Is he really like letting us go? And he's just like, see you later. And we're like, holy fuck, this isn't a joke. He's actually letting us do this. Oh my god. And then we decided to get even more high after that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
like, shit, dude, I have tons of getting away with weed and like lying to the cops stories, man. It's
What's your best one? What's your best fib or best getting away story?
So we were on tour. I was on tour with Boi Klique, and I was driving, and Willis is in my passenger seat, and then Cody's behind Willis, and then we have our friend Richard. Sorry, but yeah, so Richard's in the back, and we brought like a couple Zans, and we brought a couple ounces, and basically, I told them not to bring any federal offenses.
Okay.
Like, don't bring any prescription pills. Don't bring more than 2 ounces. Like, don't bring federal like rules since we're traveling, because my sticker is out, my registration sticker is out, and we are inevitably going to get pulled over. And like they're like, all right, whatever. Like, but Willis is dumb, and he brought prescriptions, and then Richard, he brought a bunch of weed himself anyway, and because we like to like kind of like sell weed whenever we get to show. Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to do.
I don't know how I feel about this. I got mixed feelings about it. Part of me is like, this is a good marketing technique. This is clever. And part of me is like, no, you shouldn't be selling drugs to your fans.
Smoking weed with them.
Get high with us. Why not?
Yeah, get high with us. Yeah, it's okay. No, weed's great. But yeah, no, we got pulled over in a small town, and I didn't know I didn't know how much anybody had. Like, I just assumed that they had listened to me because most of the time they do. And yeah, so the dude pulls me out, and he's like, I can smell pot in the vehicle. You know, I'm gonna search it. Like, is there anything that you want to tell me? I'm like, yeah, there's a lit bowl like in the passenger seat, and
What?
a lit bowl. Like we were smoking a bowl like while we were getting pulled over, coincidentally. But he happened to see my registration, so that's all.
Yeah.
He didn't even see the smoking. But anyways, so he goes and he checks the passenger, and Willis is there, and he should have just eaten the Xanax. Like, he should have just, you know, done them, and then just had to deal with it. But because it was only like 2, but even if you have 1, it's a felony. And yeah, so he is definitely going to jail.
Oh no.
Yeah, immediately. As soon as he finds those, like, we're like, yeah, Willis is going to jail like right now. But the thing is like the officer. Oh, and the entire time while Willis has the officer distracted, Richard is stuffing a bunch of weed into my panel, into like my door panels and shit. And the cops pull Richard out, and Richard ends up at that moment only having like an eighth on him. So the guy's like, I'm gonna take this, and you know,
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a warning or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm gonna take this. And then he takes the pipe, and then he takes my grinder, and then and then he takes Willis to jail. But and then so we're about to go to Houston. Yeah, we're on our way to Houston. And we're only halfway there, and this is really annoying. And I told Willis not to bring any, you know, felonies, and he did. But I mean, the cop said that he would have let Willis go and crushed Suzanne on the ground if his supervisor didn't pull up immediately. Like, that sucks, man. Like, we almost could have got away with it. Yeah, but all right, so then like I had to get an Airbnb in this podunk town, and like it was just like a plot of land that you could camp on for like $35 a night. We pulled up and like set up a fire, and like we were eating all the tour food that we brought, and like we just camped that night and waited for Willis to get, you know, bailed out or like on bond. And yeah, then we took my door panels apart, and got like 18 grams out of it. And then after that, Richard was like, let's just fucking smoke it. Fuck this. Like, so then we got really fucking stoned and really fucking full off of sandwiches and salads.
That's an important point as well. You need to, if you're gonna smoke weed, you need to be prepared food wise. Nothing worse than trying to shop when you're high. It's just the worst.
Dude, just being on tour, like, you have to think like smart.
Of course.
Just like being efficient with your money in general. Like, you have to have a lot of food. So like, how are you gonna do that? Small, you know, sandwiches.
So how do you work out the budget? Like, who does that, or like how does that work?
We just kind of know what we can afford, and then
And everyone kind of chips in like
Well, for
equally
the
or
most
something?
part, everyone kind of provides for themselves on tour, like pays for themselves.
Okay.
But like, if we're, normally I'm the one driving, so like
Everyone
they'll
has to chip in for that.
yeah, they'll pay for my gas or like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that we have to get or like something like that. Like, and then like in terms of mm, like paying for the tours, like to get on the tours, like we chip in. We all kind of go, thirds on that one
Fair
because
play.
we do admit that sometimes paying to play is a good move.
Yeah.
And like it's like you could spend $120 on 4 backstage tickets to your favorite rapper or musician, or you can spend $120 to be on stage with him. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I think it depends on what you're going to get. Like, if I was in the same situation, I'd look
Oh
at like,
yeah,
well, yeah,
you have
what
to
are we
pick.
paying for here? Like, yeah,
Yeah, you have to pick the people specifically. I'm not gonna just get on any tour. Like the only reason I'm going on this Juggalo tour is because they're inviting me and they've had a lot of successful shows. And like I trust this Juggalo label. So yeah, there I didn't have to pay for that one. And like a lot of the tours we really didn't have to pay for, honestly. Like the one where me and Willis went to California, like all I had to do was sell like 30 tickets here in Austin, and then he took me all around Texas, Colorado, and then I took a break and went to Minnesota and went and hung out with my uncle in like the Minneapolis metal scene. And then I met back up with the tour in California. I mean, that was just because I sold 30 tickets. I made the dude $600 and he just was like, okay, that's fine. You can come with me to stuff.
do you never think about just getting like a manager that can sort all this shit out for you? You know, just get you gigs, talk to the people so you don't have to. You know, obviously, yeah, it sucks because you'd have to like pay them and shit, but like it would kind of save you guys time and hassle. You know?
Well, the thing is if we could find a manager to work pro bono until we were profitable,
Yeah,
that'd be amazing. But like, until then, like, yeah, we don't have the funds to just pay somebody to just look for the same shit that we could already do ourselves, like
fair enough. Yeah, I get that. Um, what have been the biggest challenges in your music career so far?
making money.
It's always difficult in the beginning. I know. I think in my first band we only ever got paid like once, and like all the shows I've ever played, yeah, one
Like
time, that one
I've
time.
gotten I've gotten paid off shows and I've collected my streaming revenue like once, but it really wasn't that impressive.
Mm.
Then like because I do have like DMT songs on Spotify.
Yeah,
So like I was able to get some sort of, money off out of that. And yeah, but mostly I've pretty much only been paid for shows, but or selling tickets and then making profit off tickets.
that certainly does seem like the main way to make money at the moment in terms of the music industry. You know, like I often hear like major musicians talk about the fact that they earn like next to peanuts on Spotify, even though they might have like millions of listens and stuff. It really doesn't equate to much money. So the money is more in like, as you say, playing shows, merchandise,
Yeah,
sponsorship
like
deals, that kind of shit.
yeah, I've paid rent with my, show money before. Like that felt really good.
Cool, nice one.
So it was like that was a goal that I had reached, and I was like, okay, if I can do this once, I can do it eventually again. Uh, but I mean, like, because of COVID, we want to focus on, how to get us on Spotify and get streaming revenue, and how to get us on YouTube, and you know, we got to figure that shit out ASAP.
Fair play, man. What would you say are your biggest kind of achievements in music so far?
Biggest achievements in music. Um, for one, learning how to freestyle is something that it's something I wasn't born with. Like there's a lot
Okay.
of people who can naturally come up with things. But I was always like a creative writer, like in general. Like I always appreciated lyrics. Like whenever I was like a little kid, like I would just like read through like lyric books and
Okay.
covers and stuff. Like I would just like study that stuff. And then um like just having my appreciation for music, I guess. Because like I love most genres and I can listen to most things and
Mm.
only understand they're doing it, if it's genuine, what it means, who it's for maybe, you know. I try to look at stuff like that. Um and then I'd say just yeah, so that's my appreciation for it. And like just having my appreciation, that's one of my greatest things. Um, but because it's hard to like create an open mind, so I'd say that that was a big accomplishment for me to overlook a lot of things. But in terms of like physical things, um, have you ever heard of like Xavier Wolf or trying to think of some big rappers. Have you ever heard of Riff Raff?
Fortunately not, no. Okay, so some major rappers have.
I've opened for a lot of really famous rappers
Okay,
that are
cool.
like pretty big, and I've gotten to meet a lot of people who I used to look up to as a little kid, just like
Mm.
who I used to listen to just to get pumped for baseball or something like that. Like now I'm over here rapping on stage like in front of them, and it's really weird. And yeah, I would just say that also kind of bringing the punk rap, emo rap vibe to Austin. Like we're kind of like the original ones to bring it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a few accomplishments in mine, in music at least.
Oh, congrats. That sounds awesome, man. Actually, that kind of fits in well with my next question. What are your best and worst experiences playing live shows?
Best experiences.
Well, let's start. Let's do it again. The negative, positive thing. Let's start with
Okay.
the worst one, and then
Okay.
when you're feeling low, we'll bring it back up to the positive again.
The worst experiences. I'll be general and then I'll
Okay.
get to the specific point. Um, so it does suck whenever you're playing for nobody. Like we've had
Yeah.
shows where like the crowd was really big and then all of a sudden everybody shuffles out and there's nobody. And then it's you and a few
I've
other
had
people.
this as well. Yeah, where you're headlining, and it's like it's inevitable when you're playing quite late, and maybe it's like a weekday or some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like whenever you perform so often, because like there was a point in time where we were performing twice a week and like we were busy as fuck. And and on top of being, on tours and stuff, sometimes the tour shows are really lame. And like it's like, okay, this night wasn't what we expected, so that sucks. And then you have to just kind of go to the next city and hope that it's
Mm.
better than what that night was. But I would say the most aggravating time I've ever been on stage was whenever we were opening up for, I don't know, Jeffrey and Xavier Wolf in Austin. And we were the people before them to come on, and people wanted to see Xavier Wolf so bad that they were like telling us to get on stage, and like of course like they enjoyed my set, but then Willis's set went on, and then Willis's set kind of went on a little longer than, because like we were just kind of being jackasses at that point. And we were just seeing how far we could get with this shit. And then eventually, oh, because Xavier Wolf wasn't even there yet, and he was just outside smoking, so we were just trying to fill time. That's right.
Did anyone say like, hey, just keep going, or was it like?
Yeah. Well, no. Well, honestly, me and Willis are so good at improv. Like, it only took like one signal from like, oh, he's here. Okay, he's outside. Oh, he's taking his time. Like it was pretty easy to judge whenever he was ready to go on.
Fair enough.
So we just kept going, and everybody was just like, nobody even realized like like we were going so hard and like trying to convince people to watch us so much that like people weren't even like turning around to see that Xavier Wolf was outside, and like it was really funny. So yeah, they were like, they enjoyed my set, like I said, and on like they were getting more and more I guess unruly. But yeah, that was a pretty interesting night, I would say.
Okay, and let's switch it up and go to your best experience or experiences playing live.
Oh, my best experiences. Tulsa, I mean, like all of every single flow down that I've ever done, whether it be just a regular flow down or a protest, like it's the most fun live experience I've ever given, like for myself, and personally I think for others. Like, of course, seeing Boi Klique on stage is fun, and you get to mosh pit and chant fun things, but like whenever like you're freestyling and like you're impressing people and like you're having a fun time just jamming out, and everybody's just like brains are just meshing together, like just immediately too, like it's like some split-second thinking. So it's just that's really cool to like experience. So I love playing with the ATXFlowdown band. And but the best show I ever had was the best memory from a rap show I ever had was my very last official show, which was the one where I was on tour with Willis, and we went to California and we met Xavier Wolf, I don't know, Jeffrey, Chris Travis, Eddie Baker, and maybe some people will know who I'm talking about. But yeah, they're pretty big in the rap scene. And we were in downtown LA at this place called Rare House, and it was me, my girlfriend, and Willis. And basically luckily we got to be in like the artist cage and like be separated from the crowd, because the crowd was so thick. Like it was very packed in there, like it was bad. And then like the floor was warping. It was
Wow.
yeah, it could have collapsed easily. And it was like 120 degrees in that.
Oh no. Yeah.
Like it was so hot, and like we were so fucking high. Like, because I had taken like a quarter of a Xan, and then like just to like take my anxiety away.
I cannot imagine performing. I mean, I tried it drunk, and that was one thing, but doing it high, I don't know how you pull that off. I mean,
Dude,
fair play.
I mean, for the most part, I'm sober every single time that I perform, because, all right, so whenever I said I took a quarter Xan, like I didn't get high off of that.
No, I got what you
you
meant. I
know?
just, yeah.
And then like, so like I took my anxiety away, that mixed with the heat and like the heat putting me in like this weird dream state, and then like eventually smoking, like I was fucked up. Like the whole night was so surreal and trippy, and like performing, like Willis threw up on the stage. Like it was hilarious. like,
How did the
like
crowd react to that? Were they just like, hey, or just like, oh,
they thought it was funny because he ran to the back and threw up behind the stage, and then
okay.
and then he ran back and was like, I just fucking puked. And everybody was like, yeah.
Jesus.
And then like whenever I was trying to get him to mosh, like they moshed pretty well. Like everybody was, received it pretty well. And then like I think it was mostly just the fact that we made it to California was
Oh,
the coolest thing about that night. Like we had a show in California opening up for some, legends, in the rap game.
awesome. Oh, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Um, kind of okay. This I think this is always a cool question. I always ask this to musicians that I have on the show. What advice would you give to aspiring musicians who are just starting out right now?
Listen to as much music as possible and learn why the music you're listening to was created and who made it and what they're about.
Hmm. That's really good advice, man. I'm thinking about that. Yeah. It's interesting you say that as well, because a lot of the time when I look at my favorite musicians, particularly when I look at their influences, and it makes sense in terms of what they play. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had a musician on recently from Estonia. He's quite a popular musician over there, and he was just telling me some of his influences, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I hear that in what you play actually," and I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Yeah. Just all the pieces connect,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, my influences definitely stand out in my music. Like in terms of like the lyricism, like the the context would, it could come from country music to metal to like old 2005 emo punk rap or rock stuff, like it definitely surfaces, and then like the sound is just like
Is there any like particular artists that like inspire you or that you kind of
mostly like,
inspired by?
yeah, but it's mostly like for their talents and not their sound, like
Hmm.
what they're able to do.
We're talking like technical ability then.
Yeah, so like Freddie Mercury is one of my biggest influences. Steven Tyler, Billy Joe Armstrong.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. And then like you could look at my rap influences, and a lot of them like old school, like Bone Thugs and Harmony, like 3 6 Mafia. I listen to a lot of like Death Row, like from the 90s and stuff.
Mm.
And but I also, I've listened to grime. I used to watch Blackpool rap. Those are,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
It's
And
very different, I must say, like, because obviously I grew up with UK grime and stuff, and
yeah,
when I would compare it to what was going on in the States, it was like obviously UK rap and UK grime is heavily inspired by American rap, but it's its own entity. Like, yeah, it's
yeah,
very like
totally.
I don't know, grime. When I listen to grime, it's like it's very British for me. It's like something I think that we're all pretty proud of because it's so like sometimes you just get those things that are just so quintessentially like from a particular place. Like, gangster rap is very like that's an American thing, you know. And then
Totally.
like, yeah, it's just how it is. But yeah, I get what you mean. It's cool. It's cool to check out different scenes, different countries, see what they're doing. Like,
Mm.
I've seen some really interesting rappers from Europe, like countries like like Russia, for example, just really out there, different styles, you know, different
So
flows.
an influence for a big influence for the most recent project was BTS.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So like with the singing and the fast rapping, and then like yeah,
fair enough.
I
Fair
was trying
enough.
to I was trying to be poppy, K-poppy.
Hey, I mean, if there was ever a time to do it, it's now because it seems to be like really peaking in terms of popularity right now. It's like the thing, isn't it? Like you know, like even I was never, I always thought that Korean pop was kind of an interesting thing, but I didn't really know anything about it. And then I listened to this BTS act and I was like, God damn, this was not what I was expecting at all. Like I thought it was just some boy band. And then I listened and I was like, damn. And
Yeah,
then you hear like the solo acts within that group as well. And it's some good shit. Go check that out if
yeah,
anyone is listening. Good stuff.
yeah. Shout out BTS. Like they need that.
BTS. I think they actually broke a YouTube record apparently with their
I
latest
wouldn't doubt it.
single.
I would not doubt it.
Yeah, it was something like the most viewed in the shortest amount of time or something like that for a YouTube. So apparently, I don't know. This is what I heard.
Well, I
But yeah.
definitely contributed to that because I watched it within like 3 hours that they dropped it because I was just on YouTube and I just looked at my subscriptions and I was like, oh shit, Dynamite just dropped.
Yeah, like I'm not even subscribed to them, but it got recommended.
Yeah,
So the
of
algorithm's
course.
like, check it out,
Yeah,
check it out, check it out. Listen to
yeah,
this.
of course it did.
Okay, man. Sort of drawing everything to a close. Do you have any upcoming projects or maybe some final thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Upcoming projects, yes. I have two. So the main one that I want everyone to know about is the Ugly Boy Klique project that we're working on. We'll be dropping a single pretty soon. We're all dropping solo stuff right now
Mm.
just to get people because like we haven't really been dropping that much music. So the guys and I are gonna be, I just dropped my album, and then so Cody and Willis are gonna drop some stuff, and then once people kind of get tired of that and kind of build hype for like the dynamic song, um, people are gonna hopefully be really blown away by that one because it's legitimately a really good song. Like it's actually two in one. So you're like the people are gonna get two different sounding songs on one track.
Do you have a particular date penciled in for
Nah,
this? No?
not yet. It's just like as of now, it's still like a month and a half away at least because I want to get my album up to a few hundred views.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Willis and Cody are gonna drop theirs and do the same, and then eventually those numbers are gonna plateau, and then then we'll drop the because we're saying that like we're just trying to drop these solo songs because we want to solidify the fan base that we have now. But whenever we drop this single, we're gonna actually put some marketing into it and like
Right. Yeah.
because that's gonna be the real re-debut of Ugly Boy Klique. And like not to say that like we don't have money to spend on marketing, we just never really found an efficient way to do it that made us feel comfortable. And basically, I think we have a good plan now. So and Willis is going to take care of a lot of that, and I trust him on that. So hopefully it works. And yeah, I think but I really think the new single is going to capture people's attention pretty hard because you might consider this other stuff mediocre, like our solo stuff, like that we dropped right before. But like I said, that's kind of just for our personal fan base. But I think the the new songs and then all of the tracks that we already have preceding it, I think they're really gonna go pretty far if we put some real marketing behind it.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing. I definitely look forward to hearing that because, particularly because of what we discussed earlier about it being drastically different in terms of sound and stuff. It'll be interesting to see what you guys come up with. So,
Yeah, and my other project that I have, so it's already recorded. I'm just waiting on the guy, and this will probably be released after like this year,
mhm.
probably. So do you know who Little Peep is?
Fortunately not. No.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm sure
So
people listening do though. So yeah.
most definitely. So basically he's a SoundCloud rapper, emo rapper,
Okay. Yeah.
and he was highly influential to a lot of people, and he was like a really big deal over here and over in Europe for the most part. And he OD'd, and
Huh.
he was like a he was like a legend in the making, essentially. And whenever he died, a lot of his, people who were living at his house, like they obviously had to move out. So I kind of took the opportunity to hit some of them up, and I listened to their music individually, and like I hit some of them up, and this one guy responded, and Lil Kawhi, and like he has a pretty nice following, and I like his aesthetic a lot. Anyways, he's a really cool guy, and we ended up just like talking a little bit. And then one night he like hits me up, and he's like, "Yo, can you buy me a pizza?" And like I know that like everything's going on over there, like I understand what's going on over there. So I'm like, yeah. And then so like I sympathize for him buying the pizza, and it's like nothing. It's like $12 or whatever. Who cares? And then like I hit him up. I'm like, yo, do you want to like do a collab? And he was like, yeah, for sure. And then like he sends me a beat, and then like eventually he's like listening to my old music, and he's like, do you want to do like a 5-song collab for like $120?
Mm.
And I was like, sure. And he was like, yeah, here's a beat folder. Just pick 5 beats from this. And like, I look at it, and it's like really big name producers, like really big name. Charlie Shuffler, Captain Crunch, um, Biscuit Beats. Like, there was these guys are like really like renowned here in America. And I'm like, getting all of it for 100. I'm getting 5 of these things for $100. Like that's an insane price. And he's gonna collab with me as well. Like, so not only that, I get his following. And so basically, yeah, I'm working on a 5-song project with him. And I already have my parts recorded, and yeah, sent to him, and he's just working on them right now. So, but I'll probably drop him after all the hype, so I can kind of meet his fan base in the middle, you know. So it's
Excellent.
not so one sided.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good. I mean, it means you're sort of releasing a lot of music. There's a lot of stuff for your fan base to look forward to, and
Yeah, probably like 20 songs coming out from me pretty soon.
there you go. Efficiency, working hard in these crazy times.
Oh yeah, that's all I got to do. And then
Awesome.
I guess that would be my closing statement. Keep working hard in these crazy times.
Well, listen, thank you very much for agreeing to appear on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, to everyone that's been listening to the Christian Reeve podcast, like go check out DMT, go subscribe to him, go and listen to his music. It's excellent. It's very, I don't know how to put it. It's different. It's out there. It's it's good music, you know, first and foremost, and I think a lot of people would dig it and find something that they enjoy in it. I really enjoyed listening, particularly your latest album. Big fan of that. So yeah, a big thank you, and to everyone listening on the Christian Reeve podcast. I hope you're enjoying these video podcasts on YouTube and all the clips that we're doing. I haven't really spoken about the clips just yet, but we've been releasing clips very slowly. I'm trying to work through the backlog of all the podcasts right now. Always fixating or focusing, I should say, on the newest podcast. So you will always get the clips as soon as the episode is released. You'll get the immediate clips afterwards for the most recent one. But I'm working on the other ones. I'm doing this all myself. It takes time, so bear with me. But yeah, to everyone listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening or streaming the podcast, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. I'm really enjoying doing this. And yeah, just if you know anyone that would like to appear on the podcast, or there's a particular topic you would like to hear, hit me up, find me on social media. I would love to cover the topic or interview the guest. You know, it's an absolute pleasure for me, and it helps me to keep growing and keep doing this. So yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And until next time, peace out, one love. See you in the next one.